Well, hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Slack. Mary E. Slack and John V. Slack. It's been a couple years since I've cleaned your headstone. Actually, what happens with your headstone, it's in such a beautiful place that nature just wants to grow all over you. So I'm here today to just do a quick cleanup of your headstone, but also to cut back these ridiculous Florida vines that could literally kill a person if they walk into with their thorns. I'm also here to replace your fresh faux flowers and to spend a little time with you this morning. And so I'm going to go ahead and begin, Mr. and Mrs. Slack. I do hope that you both had good lives. I've said this to you before. I hope that you did not fear your death, and I do hope and pray that you are living in eternal peace that only angels can know. With that, I'm going to go ahead and start by cutting. Well, first of all, I'm going to take the old flowers out, and then look at these vines. I'm going to get rid of these vines. Fortunately, the church who runs this cemetery, as well as the landscapers, are okay with me pruning, but you do need to make sure it's okay. You don't want to cut anything down that people perhaps, maybe some people wanted to be buried beneath literal thrones, you know? It's a biblical thing. You want to make sure that you're respecting spirit, especially when you don't know who the persons were in life. Oh, these are the worst vines ever. Look. Mary and John. As you know, there's two seasons in Florida, summer and winter. And summer is much longer than winter. Living in the 1880s and early 1940s, Mr. and Mrs. Slack, I wonder what you did during your days. Every time I come to the cemetery, when I leave, I go home and look into my book, my big yellow Oviedo book that cemetery girl number 1, Ingrid, gifted to me to see if I can find any information on the lives of the people here at the Oviedo Cemetery where I clean their headstones. It's not just about cleaning headstones for me, it's about history. It's about connecting to a totally different place and time and preserving the lives of people. I don't think that anyone is meant to be forgotten once we die. You should always be remembered. And the more I find out about people who were buried here, the more connected I become to my city, Oviedo. Like Mr. Steen Nelson, who's buried up this way. One day I came out and found a watering can in front of his headstone. And I told my friend Ingrid, my cemetery friend number 1, that I found her watering can at Steen Nelson's headstone. And she said, Natalie, do you know that Steen Nelson was a very wealthy bachelor in Oviedo in the 1800s? And he actually planted all the trees along Allen Avenue here. And he hand watered all of these trees. That was very special for me to see that and to be able to make that connection that, as I explained to my family, spirit doesn't just talk to any of us like in our minds or whatever. Spirit gives us things that they're gifts, they're treasure hunt items that we can't be aware of unless we are open to receiving. If we just go about our days in a daze, D-A-Z-E, days, then we are not living a fulfilling life. We have to be searching and seeking always, and looking for all of the little trinkets and treasures along the way. Mr. and Mrs. Slack, I'm just going to clean out a little bit in front of your headstone. And also behind. Yeah, I just started watching a show. I say I don't know how it came on my TV, but I do know how, because this is also how spirit works. And again, you don't have to be a medium or psychic or anything like that to be aware of such gifts from spirit. Like last night when I was watching this show called The Tyler Henry Show, Life After Death. I had never heard of this young man in my life before, but I was intrigued by the title of the show called Life After Death. I've always been intrigued by life and death. And when I started watching him and how he works with spirit, I was like, oh wow. Yet more validation for me and my spirit communications.